in support of JTF, Horn of Africa. We've got 2 companies and a functional specialty team, and we're going to be sending an additional planning team in 2008. The CAT-As that are parts of these teams, you can see the countries that they're working in right now: Comoros, Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Yemen, and Tanzania. And we will be providing CA seminars and instructors to the Ethiopian Senior Service College and the East African Standby Brigade next year. So it's, as General McNeil alluded to, it's a growing mission in HOA, but it's something that, frankly, AFRICOM is going to want to learn from that and expand throughout Africa as we put more attention to that part of the world. So it'll be very interesting to see how that all develops, as General Morris indicated, and how we respond to that as a community within use of KPOC. In addition to our overseas assignments, we've got the normal CTC draw, and this is what we provided last year. I won't go into details on that, but basically we're talking 80 packs that we provided to various CTC missions. We could not take on all the missions, as just like Jeff had indicated that we were asked to take on, and it's unfortunate because these kind of missions really help train the forces that are going over, the maneuver forces that are going over, and the more CA support we can give them there, the better they can use us when we get on the ground. But the mission's downrange, and that's where the priority is. This is what we've got on our plate for next year on both CTC missions, and we've got a couple of overseas deployment training exercises, one at MedFlag in Mali, which we'll be providing a veterinarian team, and then we've got Bright Star, which happens every other year in Egypt, that we're supporting with 28 packs. And Bright Star, they've narrowed that down somewhat, but they felt it was important to keep that exercise in place and going because of all the different countries in the Middle East that support that exercise. It's been revised continually during the planning process here over the last 18 months, as everyone realizes that we just don't have enough forces in the whole Army to support the exercises the way we've done in the past. The one thing that I don't want to lose sight of is the cost that these operations have been to not only our soldiers but our families and our communities. And this is what 352nd lost last year in total since the war began. Although the op tempo is high and our forces are stretched, our forces love what they're doing. Our soldiers truly love what they're doing. And as General Morris alluded to, I get asked all the time by folks, as early as last night at a formal dinner for the Women in Military Service Memorial, at the table that one of the soldiers there, young female soldiers from upstate New York, was asking, she found out more about civil affairs. She said, well, how do I get joined in civil affairs? And she was an Army reservist. I said, hey, I can set you up. So, it is a great mission. And just to tell you, again, a personal story about how much our soldiers love what they do. 3 weeks ago, I was up at Walter Reed visiting one of my soldiers, Sergeant Sean Chandler, who just got back from Iraq. And I met him there at the hospital. His wife was there. His mother was there also. And my wife and I went in, and Sergeant Chandler was from the 450th Civil Affairs Battalion. He was on his 3rd tour, and finally, as he said, his luck ran out. His vehicle hit an IED, and he was pretty messed up. The thing that amazed me, though, was he was in terrific spirits. I mean, the guy was just, and it could have been the drugs he was on. I got to but all he could talk about was that he needed to hurry up and get better and get back into the fight because his team didn't have a gunner, and they depended on him to be their gunner when they go on missions. And he said, you know, sir, I've been on 261 missions outside the wire, and you know the odds caught up with me, but you got to get me patched back up here so I can get back in the fight. He's not going back in the fight, and I didn't have the heart to tell him at the time. And his wife knows he's not going back in the fight. But I tell you what, his wife was, you know, the kind of supportive wife that supportive spouse that we all want, and she was right there, and she was sleeping with him in the room. Had a little cot there next to his bed, and wouldn't leave. You know, they had a room for her, but she wouldn't go over to the room at the place that they had set up for her. She wasn't going to leave his side, and it was great to see that Army family pulling together when they needed to, and the mother was just was great, and in fact maybe a little too great, because she was a nurse, and sometimes that's bad because she was criticizing what the nurses and one of the escorts told us, oh yeah, she's a real pistol. She tells us what to do for her son if she doesn't feel like it's being done right. So, but they saw that as a good thing too. It wasn't bad, but it was neat. But I tell you what, you know, every time I visit our soldiers at Walter Reed, and General Maney had mentioned this too, is this I always feel like I'm going over to buck them up, but I always leave away more fired up from them than I ever did for them. And it's just amazing, the young men and women we've got serving our country today. So just as we talk about everything else, let's not forget what it's all about. So, Guy, let me turn it over to you. And by the way, General Sands will be taking questions for all of us.
And the answers too, by the way.